Bombshell New York Times report. So in this report, for viewers, Les Moonves was fired as the president of all of CBS after a bombshell article from the New Yorker came out about, obviously sexual misconduct, sexual harassment. And then the New York Times just this week, CBS had hired a outside law firm to investigate this, which hats off because they were one of the first networks to hire a third-party firm. I love all this inter-investigation that goes on from MeToo. Anyway, this article was so damning. It basically accused him through the leaked report from the lawyers that conducted the interview. He obstructed the investigation throughout when they were trying to investigate to try to save himself. There were details saying a CBS employee appeared to be on call for oral sex. It was transactional. A board member knew about the allegation, and then there was also this business about a secret resignation letter. It just goes into deeper details of all of the nonsense that was going on and how he was sexually harassing and misbehaving. And then up until it says when he then met, I guess, Julie Chen, who he was actually, I believe, married
at
the time
and
when
she
they
was an employee.
And she was an employee when they met. And supposedly once he married her, the hanky-panky stopped. With this new his $120 million parachute, severance package is in jeopardy now, rightfully so. I guess where I want to focus, because I think there's not much more to be said about. I think that this investigation has told us what we need to know. What do you think about Julie Chen Moonves' then future? They just announced that she's going to still come back for Celebrity Big Brother, and she is still standing by her one and only original statement that she stands by. What do you think that this means for her future? Can she possibly stay at CBS after all of this? Long term.
I think it would be very difficult for her to stay. I think that she is still there because she's under contract.
Yes.
It's a long-term contract, and I think they're probably waiting for that contract to run out.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I was thinking about this as I was driving here, and I thought to myself, these are some of the same questions we asked when it came to Bill and Hillary.
I was just thinking the same thing.
And here's what I remember people getting very angry during the election cycle when Donald Trump brought a bevy of women who claimed that they had been sexually harassed or sexually assaulted by Bill Clinton. And everybody I knew that was Democratic or very pro-Hillary saying, well, Hillary isn't responsible for what her husband did or didn't do.
Yes.
And I'm not hearing that now when we're talking about Les Moonves and Julie Chen. Is it a different situation? I mean, Julie Chen is not accused of harassing or doing anything improper or illegal at CBS, not at CBS, anywhere at all. Nobody has made allegations against her. So I don't understand why her job or future would be in jeopardy with CBS unless they wanted to go with someone younger or the ratings were down. Any of those reasons outside of those?
But if you look at how she may have gotten her opportunities in the company, she was dating her superior.
Right.
And when they first started dating, she was a correspondent or reading the news on CBS This Morning.
Right.
And then she kept rising and rising through the ranks, and to the point where she had the talk, she was a lead person on the talk, and also Big Brother. So that brings into question, did she get these opportunities because of who she was?
And she wouldn't be the only one in the history of this industry to marry their boss or get opportunities.
No,
Chelsea
she's
Handler,
not,
one that we could say,
when you
there's a lot of things
in
about
all the allegations. And the difference with Bill and Hillary, the one woman that we know worked for Bill was Monica Lewinsky, who was an intern. But supposedly all these women were doing business with Les Moonves. We had the woman who said she was in a business meeting and he threw her against the wall. We have women who say he derailed their careers because they would not have sexual relations with him. So I think the dynamics are different.
Well, you know what's interesting in this report, though?
Yeah.
The report brings all these women forward that are alleging all these things, but the report doesn't say anything about Julie and about whether or not they thought that her rise in her career at this network was because of her relationship with Les. It doesn't say any of that in that report. So we need, even though we can think it, even though we feel it, there's no concrete evidence that this third-party organization or third-party law firm is even alleging that her career is rising because of that.
So but we don't know what the full report says.
Right.
We only know about the parts that the New York Times has reported on.
Correct.
That they say they've seen. So I would be interested to see the full report when it comes out, if it's made publicly available.
I think this is going to come down to whether or not they stay together. I think if she stays with him, it is increasingly difficult for her to stay at CBS. I think if she leaves him, it's a little bit easier.
Probably the timing of all of it. Just a few days ago, she
gonna...
said she was going to stand by him. It was the page 6. She said,
page 6 article.
True believer that all the claims of this misconduct were false over the past few months. She was standing by him and says she will be.
Okay.
So this is my problem. We have a very powerful contingency of women behind Time's Up. Okay. And last year, for the last 12 months, it's believe women, believe women, believe Julie being even a part of that. Is it not believe women because now it's her husband, Les Moonves? Because what happened to believe all women?
So
to me, it's like she's giving a middle finger to. She's saying all of these are false. Just like
she's pulling Alina Dunham. You remember when it was all about believing women believing women when they make allegations against men until one of the men she was friends with, and then Lena said, well, wait, slow down.
Yes.
I know this guy, and I don't think you have the whole story, and I don't think you know him like I know him, when it was in her backyard.
And then she just rescinded this week.
Then she had to rescind the statement. So it does, like I said, bringing back to what I said, it does believe, it always comes down to your proximity to the person, and your relationship to the person is whether or not you want to invoke the Time's Up, And I think that's troubling to me in this time that we live in.
It's troubling to me how she's dug her heels since this. She not only just said she stands by him with all of this evidence pointing to the fact that this has happened, then she added his last name, which she's never used before, on air, to, when she first returned to Big Brother. To me, it's just appalling. Because I think about it, think about this. She works for CBS, who has commissioned a report, and the report is saying, because if they're going to not give him his severance, then they're taking this evidence to be true. And now she's directly saying these are false against the company that employs her. So there's got to be disparity clauses that...
though, at the end of the day, at the very least, I don't even know why Julie would want to still work for CBS. To be honest with you, when it's all said and done, the kind of environment that is there now post Les Moonves, would she even want to be there? Because he was her greatest defender anyway. And so whenever a contract dispute, whenever something comes up, why would she even want to be in that environment?
I worked at the Talk briefly, and Julie, with all due respect, Julie walked around with kind of like a regal air because of who she was, right?
Okay.
She was Les Moonves' wife.
Yeah.
And my husband's Bentley is sitting around the corner, and he sits up in that office. You know what I mean? Like, Julie walked around like the queen of CBS.
And you're not the only one that said that.
Right. And I mean, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way, because, Julie, I don't think she's a bad person.
No.
So her air at CBS is very special. I'm sure that it is different now.
Right.
This is kind of like the Colin Kaepernick, why do you want to go back to the NFL kind of conversation. Right. This is a very difficult space for you to be in. But I also feel like if she wants to keep her job, I feel like she should be able to.
Right. That's what
But maybe there's a timing thing of this. Maybe we don't know because they're reducing her role. She's now just a Big Brother. So maybe CBS is just trying to slowly phase her out where she can maybe salvage some of her dignity, and they don't look like they're trying to push her out. Maybe they just are
I don't think it's that. I don't think she wanted to go back to the Talk. I don't know how she could have possibly sat at the table.
I don't know how she could have.
Yeah, I don't think she wanted to go back to that table. So I feel like that was like a mutual agreement. I feel like Big Brother is a place where she doesn't ever have to talk about issues.
No,
she can just talk about head of household and who just got eliminated.
But if they told her if she walked away, wouldn't CBS also be suspect to and she's lost her job now, her marriage fell apart,
it can look like
and
retaliation.
It could. So it's like they have to. It's a very delicate dance I think they're doing, and we don't know that maybe when all the dust settles and he doesn't get his settlement, this $120 million severance, maybe she'll divorce him and leave. We don't know what's really going on, so I think it's too early to say. Perhaps I don't know. That's just a feeling I'm getting.
The spotlight and the career that Julie Chen used to have is over. Even if she goes someplace else outside of CBS, there's no other network that's probably going to give her the type of power and the type of spotlight that she had with the Talk or with CBS in general.
Which I think is really unfortunate because it's something that he did.
Correct.
Which again makes it a Bill and Hillary
Right,
situation.
that's what I was saying.
I think Julie is a very talented host. I think she's a great journalist, and I think that she's done really good work. I think that there's the double-edged sword of like doing good work and being the boss's wife, and that like catapulting you in a way, and like there's no real way to measure like well, would she have moved up?
It's always hard when you're dating somebody of power at work. That's just the risk that you take. You know, the risk is you could move up a lot quicker than other people. The risk is you could fall a lot quicker than other people. It's both sides, you know?
In terms of this final report, I think it will be interesting to see the repercussions because it sounds like this was going on for a long time at CBS, and there may have been some type of cover-up.
Yes.
Who was aware of what was happening, especially with the employee who was allegedly on call to service Mr. Moonves. So I think it will be interesting to see who else gets caught up in this investigation.
And let me tell you, I guarantee you there are other executives in town that might also have somebody on call that are probably very worried right now. Because if you think that Les Moonves is the only person in Hollywood that's behaving like this, then
Les Moonves and Matt Lauer and Harvey Weinstein and OCK. And like,
there are others that we don't even know about.
Charlie Rose.
There are more that we don't know about than we do know
Correct.
about.
I agree.
Absolutely.
100%.
I think the worst thing CBS could do is like not hire a woman to permanently replace Les. Like they really.
Well, okay, so that's the other interesting part of this. Like, not to get too like industry insider, but like,
no, but we can.
This whole thing started really in the middle of like CBS's acquisition or the whole Redstone
with the
Viacom situation thing. And so like I don't think it was a coincidence that this happened at the timing that it did. I am almost positive like the other forces were like, do some oppo on him. Let's find out what we can do to get rid of him.
Yes.
That is not to say that what he did was right or anything like that, but I'm sure that this timing was strategic.
Absolutely.
I think Julie Chen should get on the phone with Georgina Chapman.
Right.
What do I do next? How did you know?
That could
How do
be
we
an interesting
recover?
conversation.
You know?
That sure
There needs to be a
would be.
support group, right, for these
Yes.
wives. I mean,
I think Julie Chen does need to do a sit-down interview and talk about how this has been for her if she wants to save her career.
Look, she
Thank
needs to go to Oprah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
She needs to go to Oprah.
That's what I feel. Like it's like I don't think it's okay to just that she gets to just stand by that statement when there's so much more expected of people who have these kind of controversies like that hit their career, and they're expected before that comeback happens to sit down and talk about it. Like I feel like we need to hear from her. Like she's a journalist too. She knows this.
I halfway agree with you. I think that also depends, though, on if she stays or leaves. I think if she stays with her husband, I don't think she has to come out and, like, speak against him.
Yeah.
I think if she leaves him, she can come out and say, like, this is why this was so difficult. I do imagine that she'll probably leave him at some point. But, like, I think once the dust settles a little bit, we'll see that page 6 headline. You know, Julie Chen and Les Moonves to
Let me throw something more hypothetical at you, though, for a second. So if Les Moonves in the New York Times report was doing all this obstruction work, okay, to basically save himself, you know, she's his wife, okay? Right. So if she put out that statement where it was so convincing that he's going to be cleared of all this, what if she did know that he was doing he's like, I did this, and now don't worry, I'm taking care of it because I'm doing all this obstruction, and she knew it. She's like completely complicit in all of this.
I mean, but what was she supposed to say?
But you still don't think she has any part of that?
No, because they're not. This report is about his actions.
Yeah.
And the things he was doing that were not only illegal, it's against the law. You know, employment law, that he's breaking the law as well as company policy. Her listening to him and agreeing or disagreeing isn't against company policy. If you break the law and I say, yeah, I agree with you, I didn't break the law,
and
you
then,
did.
And then from like a state and federal law standpoint, like she's protected because she's his wife. So she doesn't have to like testify against him or come out against him.
Very true.
I don't envy Julie Chen in this situation.
No.
And I don't have like, Julie, you need to do this, girl, because I'm like, she is in a really
tough spot.
Thank you, because I almost used a different word. But like, she's in a really, really difficult position. I've never been like in love with Julie Chen, but I think she's talented and smart and capable. And I think I can't imagine being in a much more difficult spot than hers.
Yeah, because as you talked about, she was where she was, and your life completely can change in a moment in time. It's hard. So we don't
But those
really
people
know.
have plenty of money; they'll be fine.
Well, okay, so then that's to just end this conversation. Is there any redemption or a possible way for Les Moonves to come back, or is he completely done?
No.
He's like Harvey.
Hell no.
He's just Harvey without the jail cell.
Yeah, well, Harvey is trying to come back. He's trying to come back, but he even is tone deaf. So no.
Hell no.
Harvey's out. Les Moonves is out. Charlie Rose is out.
Matt Lauer, hell no.
No,
Look, what's the guy CK who tried to come back?
Louis CK.
And people were insulted that he even attempted to come back. So no, the answer
Except for his audience that gave him a standing O, like he was so put upon after, like, you know.
Well, I will say that in these situations, I always ask, like, okay, but are all people unredeemable?
Yeah.
And like the first time I really thought about this was with Chris Brown and Rihanna. I actually got in trouble for. Never mind, that's a different conversation. But like, I wonder, like, is no one redeemable? Like, is no act redeemable? And like, mind you, I'm not looking to hire Les Moonves for something. Like, he's gonna be fine. But I do think, like, at some point, like, do these people have to go away forever? Can they never work again? Can they never be seen in public again? Like the first time I thought this was with Chris Brown and thinking like the next person he dates, they're going to be like, oh, she's so stupid. Like, is he never allowed to date anyone again? And I think the same kind of things happen in these situations where these people go away for at least a time, but like, do they never come back? Do they never get to work again? Do they never get to make money? How are they supposed to live their
Well,
lives?
there's so many of them. We need to have like an island. They all can go.
Well,
like Kevin Spacey's over there. We put them all over there.
We need a
Hollywood
Bachelor in
Castaway
Paradise for them to go, right?
It's a reality show.
But I think when you talk about years upon years of alleged abuse with Harvey Weinstein, with
Absolutely.
Bill Cosby, this behavior went on for so long, I just don't think this person can be rehabilitated.
You know, the thing is, too, what I find a little bit insulting, why do we worry so much about the abuser? And we never, ever, ever are concerned about the victim. We're not asking about all those women whose careers may have been ruined by Les, or may have been ruined by Bill Cosby, or may have been ruined by Harvey Weinstein. All those people who just got out of the business because they couldn't make it, or because they were blacklisted,
we may never know.
or who aren't making any money now, who are struggling, living off of residual checks. We never worry about that, but we're always concerned about the guy who's making all kinds of crazy millions. I think that says something about our society.
And not to mention the mental and sort of emotional anguish that also comes along with that is couldn't be a lifelong kind of sentence.
The victims are